Hey, so read my shirt. Mommin' ain't easy. So true, isn't it? One of the biggest choices or decisions that we have to make when our kids are little is, what are we going to do about childcare? Are we going to stay at home? Do we want to stay at home? Are we going to hire a nanny? Are we going to have grandma or aunt or cousin or somebody else watch our children for us? Are we going to do daycare? It's such a big decision. And we've been in a really unique position since becoming parents 3 years ago to have experienced a lot of those. So I'm going to share kind of the pros and cons I've personally experienced with staying at home, using daycare, and hiring a nanny. So I hope this helps you out with this huge decision. All right, the first choice we're going to talk about is staying at home, being a stay-at-home mom. Now, this was the first 5.5 months of parenting for my husband and I. I was the stay-at-home parent. And this was a really sweet time. We had looked forward for, a month or so after becoming licensed foster parents. We were really excited to get the phone call, and I had kind of prepared my mom, who is my business partner, and we all knew that the moment would come in the next month or two. Similarly to carrying a baby, you have an idea of the window of time that you're going to be delivering, and so I was really excited. I decided to stay at home, and the first week was amazing. Our little Essie that we adopted was our first baby. She is a little over 3 now. And I have really, really fond memories of staying home with her. She was a really easy baby. And when we got a phone call 1 week later, which I thought was just like social services was calling, follow up to see how you're doing. And they were, but they also asked us to take another baby. So, my husband and I decided in about 10 minutes that we were going to say yes. We have a large enough home. We had 2 cribs. We had plenty of clothes that we had really been blessed with by friends and family. So, and I was going to be home anyway, so why not love on a second baby? And she was not quite as easy as the first baby. So I do have experience with one easy baby and one very colicky, difficult, a much more difficult baby. So I stayed at home with the both of them. I had a friend that came over and showed me how to baby wear, which was amazing. You can still wash dishes and do food prep and vacuum and all kinds of things with a baby strapped to you, and it's so fun to give their sweet little heads on your chest. But anyway, I have really great memories. During that time, my husband was traveling a little bit for work. So it was hard some days, but it also gave us the opportunity to travel with him. So we got to dip our baby's toes in the sand that first summer being parents, and that was a lot of fun. So some of the other pros and cons are, no one's going to take care of your children like you would. Doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days or days that you blow up or that you're ugly or that you're just blah. But those moments don't define you as a parent. Thankfully, there's a new day tomorrow. So, but no one's going to care for your kids like you will. And it doesn't, you're not paying someone. But on the flip side, if your income is crucial for your family to run, if you are the breadwinner in the family, which is very possible, then it may not be an option for you to stay home. So you might just need to scratch this one off the list to begin with. But one of the other things is, even if your income is not crucial for your family to make it or to thrive even, you may just really enjoy your work. Say you do something for a nonprofit or in some sort of ministry, or maybe you're a cashier somewhere, but you just love to talk to people. That can be really hard And you maybe feel a little alienated from adults every now and then. So it will be really important, if you do choose to stay at home, that you participate in play groups, that you get together with other moms, and that you have this community of people that you can enjoy conversation and share tips with, and that your kids can grow up playing with. And then let's see here. So again, I mentioned the scheduled play dates, having outings, maybe going to gyms or to the play area at the mall or something, because no one's going to be happy if you sit at home all the time. Your kids are going to be grumpy, and you're going to be grumpy. So you have to make yourself get up, get ready, and get out of the house. And that can be challenging with one baby, but especially with two babies, I know. Your mornings, though, are much more relaxed if you're at home. So you don't have that pressure to get everybody up and have to get to the daycare by a certain time, or get up and get ready and out the door because you're getting to work. It's just a slightly more, we can sit here and cuddle, we can do kind of what you want to within reason. And you have complete control over your schedule, which is really nice. One of the other things that I found is that I could accomplish chores earlier on. So I could do my chores during the day, and then when my husband got home from working in the afternoon, we had the evening to do things. Like, I had already taken care of doing the laundry. I had already decided what we were going to do for dinner. I had maybe laid out something that was frozen, or had done some meal prep. So we had just a much more casual and relaxed evening together because I had done some of that prep work earlier on in the day. You can also have lots of adventures together when you're a stay-at-home mom. You can, go on little day trips with your kids or with some other moms and kids. And you also possibly have the freedom to operate a home-based business. So an MLM company or direct sales or something like that. Or if you have a particular skill, say you're a graphic designer, or say you have a friend down the street that wants to work part-time, but she needs childcare. Maybe you could watch one additional child and earn a little money that way. So it doesn't mean that you can't earn any money if you stay at home. There are creative ways to do that. And the last thing that's a really big consideration is, if you are the stay-at-home parent and your spouse or your partner is able to travel, they may have a larger earning potential than they would if you were both working and you had to consider when you could be home, when you could be gone overnight, that sort of thing. So it could open up your partner to have, a much greater income for the family that could help make up the difference. So I hope that this helped. All right, next I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of putting your child in a daycare or a preschool. We have had experience with two different preschools, and they were both positive. I left off with being a stay-at-home mom for 5.5 months, and after that period of time, I could see that my mom and mine's business really was missing me being there, and I was missing being there. I craved that adult time. I craved that getting ready, getting out the door, putting my makeup on, wearing something other than a t-shirt or a cotton dress. Not smelling like spit up was also a plus. So, but a few of the things that I can think of right off the top of my head are the socialization and the playtime that your children get at preschool can be really beneficial for them. They're learning what's appropriate in social situations, and they're getting used to a variety of people caring for them. We found that this was really helpful for when we drop our children off at childcare at church and things like that. They're a little bit more trusting and comfortable because they know we're always going to come back and get them. So there's less fear when we exit the room. They also, like I said, learn to share. They learn classroom conduct as they get a little older. They also are exposed to other experiences that you would not give them if they were home with you. So, for example, I love to read to my kids. I like to take them outside. We like to go on little day trips to the park. We like to go swimming. But I'm not a crafty person. We'll do Play-Doh and a little bit of paint, but that's about it. But at a lot of preschools, they do all kinds of mixed media art. They have all of these different things that they play with that would cost me an arm and a leg to provide all those different sensory experiences to my child. So they do get a much a broader variety of activities and learning opportunities. And these are a few things that maybe you think is weird that I'm mentioning them, but when they're in preschool or daycare, it's much less wear and tear on your house. And if you've got 3 or 4 munchkins at home at any given time like we do, they're just rough on things. Like our kitchen cabinets have all these nicks that they didn't have a couple years ago, and all. So those things are going to happen when they're at home. But if they're home more frequently, it's a little more. You have to also think you're flushing your toilet a whole lot more if you've got 3 and 4 kids at home and a nanny, or yourself at home. You're using more toilet paper. You're buying more snacks. Just lots of different things. So that's something you may not have thought about. Your home stays a little tidier, and when you have a day off from work, if you take a vacation day to work on a project, to paint a room, or just to have a day of rest by yourself, you can truly get that. Whereas if you're a stay-at-home mom or you have a nanny, you're never really by yourself, or it's very rare, I should say. If your child gets sick when they're in daycare, of course it is not right to leave them there, nor does the daycare allow that. It would be really inconsiderate to send your child to preschool or daycare when you know that they're not feeling well. So they're going to get sick more often too at preschool. Our children were sick quite a bit when they were in preschool with ear infections and colds, and then sometimes they have a little bit of a fever and a runny nose. But you can't send them, but it could just be teething, so there's that to consider. And you're going to pay every week whether you send them all week or not. The other thing is you do get a lot of education at a preschool, which I think I've touched on that already. You've got to get up and out the door. So if your kids didn't sleep well the night before and they've got to be at preschool by 9 or 9:30, there's a cutoff at a lot of preschools. They don't want you wandering in at noon with your child. They have a date that they need everyone there, so everyone can be counted and lunch can be prepared, and it helps their day because they need structure as well. This can be a con if you have an inconsistent work schedule. So if you have a fluctuating days on, days off, or maybe you work different shifts, then this could be difficult for you. It can really add up and be expensive. If you have 2 or more children, daycare oftentimes is so expensive that most parents decide that someone's going to stay home or look for another option. And like I said, your child can get sick more frequently in a preschool. Even the ones that clean very diligently, kids are just gross. They snot all over something and they're not even aware of it, and before you know it, it's all over the place. So when they're sick, you're out of work taking care of them, or you're going to have to phone a friend or phone a family member to come if you want to get to work. The other thing is your kid is going to get some bruises. They're going to get some bites and some nail scratches. And let me tell you, I've been the parent that my child did it, and I've been the parent that my child did that to someone else. So those things are going to happen. You are going to walk in and you're going to be a little upset because you think your child's diaper is a little soiled from here and there, or from time to time. They have regulations. They do change diapers. They even tell you when your child has a BM, if it was hard, if it was loose, when they peed, all that stuff. So they have great systems in place, which are required by law, I do believe, but they're not perfect, and you can't expect someone, for your child to be in perfect condition and their clothes not be dirty and all these things. They may have a soggy diaper when you get there. They may have a scratch. They may have a bite mark. It's just going to happen. And if you've got more than one child, it's going to happen at your house too. There's going to be days that you can't do things as quickly as you wish. There's going to be days when you realize your kid has a bite mark and one of your other kids bit them and nobody's fessing up. I mean, these things are going to happen. So one of the other things I want to tell you is one of our personal problems that we had with preschool was our son just picking up bad behaviors, things that he was not doing until he picked them up from some of the other kids at school. So anyway, we ended up, if you're curious why we changed preschools, as I mentioned earlier, we're foster parents, and now we're adoptive parents, but back then we were foster parents, and the second baby girl that we had was reunited with a family member, and so then we had about a month period where we just had Essie, and later on we were asked to take a sibling group of 3 children, ages 9 months, 2.5, and almost 5. And we said yes, which I'll talk more about that later in another video. I'll be happy to share our whole story later on. But the preschool that we were at with the 2 girls did not have room in all of their classrooms to take our new kids that we had in our home. So we had to end up changing preschools. So it was not a bad situation at all. We didn't leave because we were upset. We try to have really realistic expectations of people. People are going to fail you sometimes, and people are going to let you down because they're human. So just try to keep that and be grace filled, and just be kind to people, and they're going to do their best to take care of your child. You'll know too. You'll know when you walk in that preschool and you talk with that director and see the room that the kids are going to be in and meet the teacher. You'll know. You'll know if it's right or you'll know if it's wrong. You have to just trust your gut on that if you're going to go in the daycare or preschool direction. So I hope this gave you some more things to think about. And next up, we're going to talk about hiring a nanny. Okay, so now we're going to talk about hiring a nanny. Now, for some people, this can be a scary thought, hiring someone to come into your home and care for your kids without any supervision, like would be in a daycare. So it's really important that you have great references or personally know your nanny. For us, we had our eye on this great nanny. We're going to call her Nene. That's her nickname's Nene. And she worked for another family that we're great friends with, and they had wonderful things to say about her. They relocated out of the country, and she was hoping to come and nanny for our family, and we were hoping that she would come and nanny for our family. So we're very thankful to have each other. So we have an unusually great relationship with our nanny. You really need to view your nanny as a partner in raising your children, not so much as an employee-employer relationship. But our nanny is not a live-in. She is part-time. She comes and works here in our home and serves our family amazingly well 3 days a week. So those are the 3 days that I work. She comes to our home around 8 a.m. and she stays till about 5:30. This is a great option if you have 2 or more children, or if you have a school-age child that's going to be picked up from school or ride the bus home. This way you're not constantly finding after-school programs or looking for summer camps, which can get really expensive if that's what you're relying on for your school-age child. So the great thing is, Nene comes to us. Your nanny comes to you at the time that you've worked on. So we did make a little, made a little tweak. We have tweaked our schedule from time to time. So her schedule has changed a couple of times. At first we were doing 4 shorter days, but we decided to do the 3 longer days, and it's worked better for our family. Even if your child's not feeling well, you can still go to work. Your child can be in the comfort of your home, and your nanny can give them medication as you have directed. When your children are in preschool, even the simplest diaper rash ointment, if it's a prescription or something, has to have all this extra documentation and doctor's orders and lots of extras. Whereas if your child's at home and they have a fever, your nanny can text you and say, hey, your child's got a 100.9 fever. Do you want me to go ahead and give them some ibuprofen? And you can just be in communication with them throughout the day over things like that. So your child can get the attention that they need, and they can stay in the comfort of the home, and you can go to work as usual, which is really important if you work with clients like I do. You have more control over their diet, their snacks, and beverages if they're at home. Now, this also means that you buy a lot more groceries than if they were in preschool. So kids that are in preschool, they've got possibly breakfast served to them when they get there. They've got lunch and then an afternoon snack. If they're at home, you've got to make sure that you're buying all those extra snacks and planning ahead, that you're giving nutritious, varied diet to them. You also, if you have pets, they can let your pets out. So, that's a plus too, depending on your work schedule. One of the other things is you really have to consider how your nanny is going to transport your children to places like the park or to outings, play dates, to pick up school-age children. Can those children fit in her car? Do you have extra car seats? Or do you need to have a dedicated vehicle that stays with the children? So our setup is my husband has his vehicle that he drives for work every day. And then we have a family van. We have a minivan. And we have 2 children in booster seats and then 2 children in forward-facing, like toddler car seats. I think I explained that correctly. So that would be a lot to move back and forth. And they wouldn't even fit in our nanny's car. She has a 4-door vehicle. So that wouldn't even work. So we have our van here, and then we have a third vehicle, a third car that I drive back and forth to work. So even if you're not spending as much money, if you had 3 or even 4 kids in preschool or daycare, you may possibly have an additional car payment, as well as you could have 3 vehicles burning gas all day, or not all day, but you know what I'm saying, going back and forth different places. So the fuel adds up. Now, if you're considering hiring a nanny for 1 or 2 children, then most likely, if you're comfortable with it, your nanny could drive their own vehicle. But it'd be really important for you to discuss that up front, what the expectations are and how you're going to compensate her for the gas and the wear and tear on her vehicle, that sort of thing. Are you going to pay her mileage, or are you going to give her a gas card, or what is it that you're going to do to compensate her? That's only fair. So the other thing is nannies get sick too. And nannies have deaths in their family and they need bereavement time, or they have, doctor's appointments, or they have a vacation that they want to take from time to time. They are just like us. They want time off to do certain things. So you need to work that out ahead of time as well. I would also say that if you have a nanny that maybe the hours are going to change, if your work schedule changes, you need to just have clear communication from the get-go and decide when you're going to let them know what their schedule is for the week or for the month. That's definitely a consideration you want given to you in your workplace, so you need to remember to do the same for her. And again, if you have 2 or more kids, a nanny, in our opinion, is the way to go. You have to remember too that you're somewhat responsible for someone else's part of their livelihood. You've hired someone, and this is their job, just like you have your job. And if you decide that it's not working out, you need to give them a little notice and not just, next week we're going to start doing something different. Like, you would hate to hear that at work. So we decided with Nene that we were gonna do this thing for a year. That we were gonna tell her, barring some terrible disaster, you can count on this income weekly for the next year. And we do pay our nanny weekly, even the week of Christmas and the week of the 4th of July and things like that. We pay her. It's a salary. It's a constant expense. And one of the benefits we get from that is if we need to change her schedule due to something, she's more than willing to do it. She's very accommodating. So again, you have to be a good communicator, or set up some time every week to communicate with your nanny, and respect her schedule as well. If you are compensating her for a certain number of hours per week, do your best to get there so that she can go in a reasonable time, because we all have plans from time to time in the evening, and it's not fair to take advantage of someone. So again, for our family, ages 2, 3, 4.5, and almost 7, our nanny is an amazing part of our family. She understands our values and our goals for our family. Our schedule is on a whiteboard, which we're going to do another video on that. But it's really important to communicate. I know I've said it like 5 times. You got to communicate. You've got to talk. You've got to let her know if there's something that needs to be tweaked. And it can be potentially a really great relationship for your family. So I hope that helps. Okay, so one of the last choices that some may have is a family member helping you out with childcare. This could be your sister or sister-in-law, your cousin, your grandma, your aunt, whoever lives close by that's willing to either come to your house or watch your child at their house. And if they're willing to do that, that is great. You can often get that type of care at little to no cost to you. And they're going to love that child because they're their family member. So sometimes though they may feel like they're doing you a favor, so they may not adhere to the maybe the house rules or the schedule as much as you would like for them to. And if they're grandmas or aunts, a lot of times they want to go ahead and give in to your child's request for, a little more juice or another cookie or something like that you would not really want them to do. So a lot of times grandma means more sugar. Some people might not like to hear that, but it's oftentimes true. Not always, but often. The other thing is, if you're using your nearby family member for daily childcare or something like that, you may feel like you can't ask them when you want to go out and have a date night or a weekend away without the kids. You're kind of, that person's kind of like burnt out through the weekly childcare, so they may not be as apt to watch your child for those other times. And sometimes they're really reluctant to say, oh, this is too much for me, or can we do something else? And there might be you don't want any animosity or ill feelings towards your family member, or they may feel like this is too much for me, but I'm afraid to say something because they don't want to disappoint you. So just keep that in mind. We have amazing family ourselves, and they do help us out, not on weekdays, but they do help out whenever my husband and I want to go out of town together. So if you're not taking some weekend trips here and there or taking a date night, you need to watch my How to Reconnect with Your Spouse video, already up on YouTube. So I hope this has been helpful. So we talked about being a stay-at-home mom. We talked about using daycare or preschool, hiring a nanny, or using a family member that's willing to help you. And I hope that this has given you some insight as to things to think about before you make this big decision. And the thing is, you're probably not going to be locked into it. So if you find out it's not working, you can change it up for your family. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Official Monica Says, on Facebook, Monica Says, and on YouTube, Monica Says. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks so much. See you next time.